tough. You were booed. What does that show you about Western disaffection?
Look, we've got, we meet with everybody. We represent the entire country. We were cheered as well as the other.
No, you weren't cheered. You were booed, as we saw on that video footage. This is David Krayden broadcasting live. This is Stand on Guard. We've got lots to talk about today in terms of what are the consequences, the ramifications of this budget vote last night. Because if it passed last night, it ain't going to fail the next time. And that's why we're worried. And I'll tell you why, and we'll have more. Some excerpts from our interview yesterday with Katie Basitne about the latest from the farm and the latest from Surrey at that Super Save location where the bizarre reigns supreme. We'll be right back in mere moments with more.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, we do it live here every day. Usually without consequence. Sometimes there's some difficulties, but thanks for your patience, always. Last night, what does this budget mean? Well, first of all, this was a chance to stop this government from taking away free speech. And I was going to say I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry for saying that's a lot more important in the long term and the short term than just rhetoric on bail, not jail, not bail, safe streets, safe communities. It's all very important. And I know the Conservative Party of Canada wants to run on those slogans again, but there has been very little said about the censorship and surveillance bills in front of Parliament. And this is why we wanted this government toppled last night. Apparently the Conservative Party did not. Yeah, they voted against the budget, but they ensured that at least one of their members, along with the one that bolted to the Liberals, abstained. No, sorry, I stand corrected. Two of their members abstained. So that is, here they are. Here they are. Now, why is this important? As I said, we needed to stop this government from getting its surveillance and censorship bills through. There's 3 of them online right now that will be up for votes at first reading. A second reading coming up. There's the new revamped Online Harms Act, which I predict is going to be renamed as the Online Protection Act or something that sounds even more innocuous. And that's, of course, the Orwellian thought speech bill that came up in the last session of Parliament under Justin Trudeau. And we killed that bill by just allowing it to die on the order table. But it's coming back. Justice Minister / Attorney General Sean Fraser promised in September that before the end of fall, that bill would be back. I'm more concerned about these bills than I am about anything else coming out of this government. Yes, it's economic catastrophe on the horizon. But this country cannot survive as a democratic nation, as a free country without free speech. And that's what this government's targeting. And we're going to be like the UK within 3 months, maybe less, if this happens, if this is allowed to happen. Conservatives failed us last night on this. And I think that's important to know. So here are the Conservative MPs that decided to abstain. Shannon Stubbs, Matt General. Both of them decided to abstain. That was very consequential. You look at those numbers, would have been a tie vote, but that still might not have done it. But clearly the Conservatives were worried that the government could fall because they don't want an election, even though this could be hell on earth if this government is allowed to fully engage. Here's the thoughts of Kirk Lubimov on X last night. It's important to understand that the CPC doesn't want an election. No one does, and was prepared to abstain more votes for in case the NDP all voted against it. Andrew Scheer and MP Reid voted after the vote count was known, claiming they had technical difficulties, even though they're in person. This is politics, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, no kidding. That's what happens in the House of Commons every day. It's politics, politics, politics. Not necessarily the nation's business or thinking about what's best for Canada, what's best for you. This was the blame game, as I've said for weeks from day one. And the Poilievre Conservatives did not want to get blamed for bringing the government down. They would have loved it if the NDP had decided to vote against it. All 7 MPs had voted against it. They did not. So that's what they would have loved to have seen. So, where are we? A country that is without freedom of speech, probably within weeks and months. There's some the sagacious offerings of table salt. There's a lot of good research behind the scenes. Tonight, Mark Carney calls the CPC and the NDP's bluff. He didn't water down his budget, not at all. And he dared them to trigger an election, and they blinked. It's all based on the polling, folks. Atlantic Canada and Quebec want more debt because they don't have to pay it back. Yeah, they keep siphoning money from Alberta, billions of dollars. And you can include Ontario in that too. The have-not province of Ontario that still dominates Canada and Canadian politics, even though they are a have-not province. So they want things that the status quo to continue, to keep sucking money out of Alberta, and the cycle continues. And we are in a load of problems here. So what are we left with here? $78 billion deficit, highest in a non-pandemic year. $55.6 billion in debt interest this year alone. $321 billion in new debt. That's where we're at, folks. And I don't read this with any sense. I'm seriously worried about what's going to happen to independent media, new media, independent, but largely independent media that is very reliant on social media, on the internet. And there are enormous draconian pieces of legislation coming down to clamp down on my ability, on your ability to function. We just saw what happened at Katie's farm, because there would have been a media blackout at that farm when the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, started massacring the ostriches on the evening of November 6th, continuing into the wee small hours of the morning of November 7th. There was no national media there. There was no mainstream media present. There were just some observers and some independent media documenting everything all night long. None of that would have been known if we had the laws that are coming in, which I would predict have banned it, because it was so critical of the RCMP, of the CFIA, of the Carney government. They would have simply disallowed it from appearing on X or Facebook or YouTube or any vehicle available for that purpose right now. I discussed this with Katie yesterday in her interview. there would have been a media blackout, but thank God there wasn't. I don't know if that's going to be the case again in the future. And here's how some of the cartoonists are seeing this. Carney's right. Everything's looking up. Things are looking up. Yeah. Deficits, tariffs, unemployment, trade, uncertainty. Yeah. It's all, the arrows are all going upwards. Incredible here. Well, we got that one twice. How did Mark Carney react to all this? Well, let's show. Here he is talking about the budget. I'm going to save the other one for afterwards, because the arrogance of this man, he knew that the opposition parties weren't going to bite. They were just going to be lapdogs. And he did not move an inch on this budget. Not an inch.
Workday, the leader of the opposition and his colleagues have an opportunity to vote for generational investment to build this economy.
The honourable leader of the opposition.
Maybe it's a good day for him and his Brookfield buddies who are dodging their tax bills, but it's a terrible day for the Canadian people stuck paying record-high grocery bills. In fact, the Prime Minister said he'd be judged by prices at the grocery store. Today, Statistics Canada revealed that grocery price inflation is almost double the Bank of Canada's target, rising 40% faster in Canada than in the United States of America. The direct result of the Liberal industrial carbon tax on farmers, the food packaging tax, the fuel standard tax. The Prime Minister puts his budget on the national credit card. Does he expect Canadians to pay their groceries the same way?
Yeah, tough words, Mr. Polyev, but unfortunately you did not want to see this government fall. And you did not want to see this budget stopped. So ultimately it's all talk. And we need you to stand up with some kind of righteous anger, some kind of at least enthusiasm about these censorship and surveillance bills that are forthcoming. We need the same kind of fervor, the same kind of disgust that you've shown towards other pieces of Liberal legislation. We need that to come against these censorship and surveillance bills. And that's where you need to be. Let's watch a few more moments of your arrogant, or shall I say our arrogant, Prime Minister, Mark Carney, at it again.
Johnson with CTV National News. Prime Minister, where do negotiations stand with Alberta on the so-called grand bargain? Premier Danielle Smith was hoping to achieve a deal by the Grey Cup on new energy projects. Is that going to happen?
We call it a memorandum of understanding, as does the Premier. Those discussions are going well. We're encouraged I'm personally encouraged by the progress that we're making. There's a few more issues that we're working on ironing out, looking forward to that progress over the course of the coming weeks. This is a very important process for the province, for the country. It's related in many respects to what we're talking about today in terms of some aspects of this are for major investments that will help build Alberta strong, build Canada strong, make us more independent and more prosperous. We want to make sure we're doing it right. I will reference one thing, if I could just bring it back, and then I'll hand it back to you for your follow-up, in terms of, because we're here talking about the Major Projects Office and these big projects. One of the first bits of work that the Major Projects Office is very much engaged in is around the Pathways project. And your carbon storage, this is an opportunity for Canada to develop a new industry, to have decarbonized oil and gas, and it is very much part of these discussions that we're having with Alberta. How do we move that forward, part and parcel with other aspects?
Yeah, so that is where we stand with the budget. And I had a 30-minute interview with Alberta Premier Danielle Smith last week. And as I said, I have nothing but admiration for the Premier and the fact that she's taken tough stands and she's done some great work on the transgender file, and she's demanded that biological males don't participate in female sports. She's demanded that kids can't just run out without their parents' authority and supervision and have gender reassignment, as they say, or sex change operations. She has been powerful on these issues. And I have to say it was a bit of an awkward conversation because I think she is just hoping for too much from Mark Carney. I understand politically why she's doing this. I understand she's looking for the best deal for Alberta, and that's the bottom line for her. I don't think she's necessarily going to get that from Mark Carney. And I think Mark Carney, as I've said many times, is not some sort of alternative to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He is worse in many ways. Certainly, he's introduced so much bad legislation in the short time he's been there. So, that's where we are. Now, I want to show a couple of videos, excerpts from my interview yesterday with Katie Pesitne. And incredible stuff came out of that interview because, first of all, she talked about the fact that the charges against her and her mother for feeding her ostriches have been dropped. As so many of you remarked, it was bogus to begin with. This is entrapment. CFIA said, yeah, go ahead, feed your ostriches. As soon as they did, and I had them arrested. And she talks about her new venture, which we'll be talking about much more in the next few days, which is a voice for farmers. This will be an association to fight, really fight, for farmers who are being harassed by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and the long arm of the federal government. This is a means of defending farmers from the war on agriculture being waged by the Liberal Carney government, just as it was waged by the Trudeau Liberal government. So she's got some great things. Let's have a listen here. Want to get to the breaking news here. I'm so excited when we spoke before the broadcast. Charges have been dropped. I assume that's not just for you, but for your mom, Karen, as well.
Yeah,
that's just
it is Miracle Monday, I would say. And you got to take the miracles when they come. So let's just say more miracles, please. My mom and I's charges have been dropped. That was Section 35, Paragraph 1 of the Animal Health Act. And we were being charged for impeding an officer to perform his duties, which we were not. We were not barricading fences. We did not lock any gates. We were simply parked in the middle of the field, carrying out a task that I have to remind you that we were emailed to do so on September 22nd by Canadian Food Inspection Agency themselves. Now, that email stated that they wanted us to continue to feed and water the animals while they prepared for their kill. And we said, of course, because maintaining that routine and that level of what they're used to while their world was going to be turned upside down was very important. So we sat out there and we said, they were trying to kick us out of the pens, and they said we weren't allowed to feed. And we said, we're staying because we were asked to feed and we're going to stay with the animals. That turned into them saying, fine, you can go feed the animals. And when we went to go feed the animals, we were arrested. Our farm truck was swarmed by a few police vehicles, and we were taken up to a command center up in a sand pit here. And then they tried to charge us. So nothing about that made sense to the world either, but I know that there was going to be a great support at the Vernon Courthouse on the 20th. So I want to thank you to anybody who had planned to go. I really want to just send our gratitude for my mom and I and love. The support has been so unwavering, and it has been such a great get up and go. That's what gives us the energy every morning to keep fighting is everybody's loving support and prayers. So yes, today was great. It was a miracle. We woke up to that the charges are dropped. We didn't have to go get fingerprinted, and we didn't have to go to court.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Do you think this indicates in any way that maybe the establishment, and I use that term to mean the judiciary, the police, the governments, the people who made life miserable for you over the last year and very, very miserable over the last 7-8 weeks. Do you think this maybe are they saying, hold it, we're just going to look even more stupid if we go through with this kangaroo court, we go through with these entrapment charges? That's really what they were. Because they've been embarrassed. not only during the occupation of your farm, but in this slipshod, incompetent shit show, excuse my language, of an aftermath, so-called cleanup. And I'm going to show some pictures later of how clean it looks. Do you think they said, hold it, we better just stop now before we look even more stupid?
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. It wasn't one mistake, and it's not two mistakes. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, I don't think, has ever really been put under the microscope like this. They've operated with no accountability, no oversight. They don't follow their own code of conduct, their own policies. They've been caught many, many times by hundreds of people, not us, but hundreds of people that have decided to stay here and wanted to protect life. Images of them not wearing PPE, not sanitizing the trucks, putting kill pen hay down in mud for police officers to drive on. There's just, the list goes on and on. Then that ends in a barbaric shootout of our animals on November 6th and 7th, that the world woke up. And I just do not think that they anticipated that this momentum from these big, beautiful prehistoric birds with a small family in the middle of nowhere, 135 kilometers away from a major city, I don't think they anticipated that this would get to this size. Now, our international support is phenomenal. I want to thank you, everybody from across the world who continues to pour in your love and support. The ostriches became beacons of hope, and they're going to remain beacons of hope. In their brutal death, of the panic and fear and the trauma and the torment that those animals felt that night, they are going to change the world. And what I mean by that is that there's so many layers to this. How has Canadian Food Inspection Agency been able to get away with this stuff for so many decades? Who is responsible? How does this affect trade? Is this, the national security risk that Angela Rasmussen said that we are? Well, maybe we need to investigate national security, because I'm promising you that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they are the ones that are responsible for putting anybody at risk, not us. We have a lot of good momentum, but the November 6th, November 7th, the world woke up. The world woke up, and some people are just watching this for the first time. Somebody, mentions it to a neighbor. Did you know what happened in Canada about the ostriches? And then they go online, and there's some people watching that shooting for the very first time today. And they haven't had the 11 days that is today for our family to try to absorb what has happened, try to understand that trauma and how we're going to have that for the rest of our life, but actually turn it into power and empower ourselves that today, Monday, we're ready to put our armor back on, and we're ready to fight for Canada, to continue to fight for Canada.
And of course, one way she's doing that is to form the association called A Voice for Farmers. We'll be talking more about that as the days and weeks go on. But wanted to show you how to do your bit to support here. And I've got this one here of the Ostrich and the Maple Leaf incorporated together has been monumentally successful so far, and I encourage you to have a look at it. Buy one, buy many, and also buy some merchandise while you're in the store. Other merchandise, we thank you. But all proceeds from these stickers will be going to Katie and Universal Ostrich Farms. And why? Because the cost of picking up the legal bill for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is going to be enormous, but it could be even worse than that. And I'm just running through. Here's the other stickers. I encourage you to have a look at these in the store. Quite proud of these. And that's where we are with that. So I encourage you to have a look, And here's another clip, because it's possible. We don't have this confirmed. And once again, I specifically asked the CFIA about this. All I ever get back are news releases that they've already issued and backgrounders, as they like to say in the government. And I used to write backgrounders for the Canadian Armed Forces. And they just, these are things, of course, where they regurgitate talking points and regurgitate the government message, but don't answer any questions. So why is it possible that Universal Ostrich Farms could be on the hook for even more? Here, Katie explains it. There have been reports that the CFIA is talking about the farm picking up the costs of the entire occupation. Have you, the last time we talked about this, I don't think you could confirm it, but I don't think they've denied it either.
No, we can't confirm it. So we haven't talked on it really, but that was a post that someone read somewhere. So I don't like to go down those rabbit holes until we have an email personally ourselves. So I'll answer to that, is that we have not been served. We have not been given that documentation. However, would it surprise you? No. Nothing surprises me anymore. And this is one of those things that, why wouldn't they? Because, their biggest word is we were non-compliant. Comply or die in Canada, everybody. Comply or die. So we were non-compliant for not killing our own animals and our own healthy animals. And that means then that we could be on the hook for all of the police costs, the fencing, the Super Save, the bales that I've heard from a trucker that they bought in my name. And so, so we're getting a statement on that because nobody would touch it. And a truck driver said that he heard that Katie Pasitny was ordering bedding for the ostriches. So they delivered it out here. That's, again, I need a statement on that. But so it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But guess what?
Well,
we're ready. We're ready for it. I mean,
that's right. We're gonna fundraise for the worst.
Yeah, they took everything we loved. It's gone. They stripped us of everything that we've loved for 35 years. So they honestly got the rawest form of a family that has so much integrity and so much fight. And you just gave us time. You took away our animals and you gave us time. And I'd be scared because we're a pretty strong family.
Well, the fight continues, Katie, and that's where you go next. And they will not get away with this. No, they won't. So did you hear what she said there? The truckers have told her that the CFIA was billing its occupation resources, the things it needed to purchase, with her name. They were billing them to Katie and the farm. Now, that's unsubstantiated. That's I don't know which or how many truckers reported this, but the fact that that's out there and the fact that the CFIA is continuing to talk about the farm being non-compliant suggests to me that they have got something evil going on here. And they probably expect the farm to pick up the expenses associated with this occupation. That, of course, the CFIA broke laws and regulations and rules throughout the entire course of that occupation. They were never stopped, never charged, never questioned, never fined. Believe me, that's got to stop. Now, the House of Commons Standing Committee on Agriculture and Agri-Food has been discussing the CFIA and its role in agricultural planning. I just checked on their website today. This has been ongoing. God, I wish I had known about this sooner, that the CFIA was a prominent part of this study. So this is ongoing. And I encourage Katie to offer her testimony, that of her mom, Karen Esperson, or Dave Belinsky. They should either go to Ottawa or more likely answer questions, give testimony remotely about how the CFIA planned their agriculture and their backyard, and how the CFIA was completely and utterly incompetent in the aftermath of the killing in terms of so-called cleanup operations of what they maintained. Remember, they said it was a biohazard. They're the ones who insisted the ostriches were still sick. They're the ones who said that they were a biohazard. They're the ones who supervised a gong show with the RCMP, throwing hay here and there all over the farm, with piling the carcasses of dead ostriches into bins, onto trucks, overloading the trucks with the blood and the body fluids of these birds seeping through the bins. We all saw the video of that. Nothing was done by the book. Nothing was done by the regulations. And a lot of this was done contrary to the law, but nobody has ever been questioned or charged about it. This is why we're encouraging organizations and individuals to rise up and say enough. And as I've been saying, this is not just a few journalists anymore who are talking about this, like myself or Viva Fry or Clayton and Natalie Morris on Redacted, or, of course, Rebel News that did a hell of a good job documenting this. Not just us anymore. Veterinarians are speaking out about this atrocity, not just the killing, but the incompetent cleanup. And people are beginning to notice. I've got one more clip from Katie to show you, but I want to watch this one first, because this is, of course, Brett Weinstein on his show Dark Horse, and this is where this is going. The experts are now proliferating in terms of stamping out makes no sense, it's stupid, it's irrational, stop it.
And that precursor in our closest living relatives, and by that I mean Pan, not bonobos.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, maybe we should just mention, we talked, actually it turns out on September 10th, in Dark Horse 294, which was the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, before we knew that had happened. We talked about the ostriches in British Columbia, and that what is it? The Canadian Food Inspection Agency had been told by a court in Canada that they needed to kill all these ostriches in this ostrich farm because back in January there had been some animals that were sick, had died, and it was thought to be bird flu, and now all the surviving ostriches were at risk of being culled. Because why? Hadn't they survived? Isn't that what the immune system is for? Didn't they probably have herd immunity now? I mean, just even individual immunity, right?
Flock immunity.
What's that?
Flock immunity.
Flock immunity. Yeah. And so this argument was going back and forth in the Canadian courts for a bit, and as we talked about on September 10th, a lot of mainstream media was getting in on it. The WAPO and the Wall Street Journal and Politico all had articles in July and August. They were mostly bringing in the angle of that the Maha people, those crazy Maha people, think that avian flu isn't a risk, and Bobby Kennedy wrote a letter suggesting that you really shouldn't kill these ostriches, and isn't he a crazy guy? So that was the bent of the mainstream media, of course. But the very bad news, and frankly I'm a bit surprised, is that the ostriches have been killed. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency orchestrated the cull, and here we have the AP writing about it. There's no one else in the mainstream media that I can find. The Guardian did one piece, but none, WAPO, Wall Street Journal, Politico, all of whom had articles on this back when they could use it as a way to try to mock Bobby Kennedy, have said nothing about this. Canadian federal agency says call over all ostriches shot dead at British Columbia farm. And this was on November 7th, so a week ago. And just the opening The opening paragraph of this thing. A Canadian federal agency said Friday it has shot dead all ostriches at a British Columbia farm, fulfilling a 10-month-old call order over a bird flu outbreak. 10 months old.
Yep.
These birds have not had a sick or dying or dead bird among them for 10 months.
Yep.
There were over 300 of them doing just fine. The owners of this farm knew these ostriches. They knew they were healthy, and they're dead now.
Well, dead, brutally killed, in a disgusting...
In a disgusting way.
Violence. This was not done in any arguably humane way. After being tortured, denied food, all kinds of insane madness. And, I think actually the tell is in the fact that the story, when it first broke, was covered by many outlets.
Yes.
And now covered by just a couple.
Yeah.
Because what happened is the public didn't buy the story that we were supposed to buy, which was that this was being done to protect us from bird flu.
Right.
Right. So when that story didn't fly and people were like, what the hell are you doing? Then this became a loser story.
Yep.
And rather than back down, which is what they should have done, they decided not to set a precedent. And they had to kill the animals, but they didn't want to champion it because they knew that the public would just become even more irate about it. And so, when I heard this, my overwhelming thought was, first they came for the ostriches.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing, is this is some weird, strange African bird. How many people are going to pay attention?
Some number of people are going to roll their eyes like, who even has ostriches?
Right. But you are going to pay attention when it's your cat and your dog. Right. And believe me, these authoritarian monsters, that's where they're headed.
I mean, I remember us talking during COVID. Like there were a few of those little, why do I want to say trial balloons? Is that the right phrase here? A few little of these trial balloons floated during COVID. I can't remember what outlets, but some mainstream outlets were like, it's bad for humanity and bad for the planet to have cats and dogs, and so you should get used to the idea of not having them anymore. And I don't remember exactly where those things were published and exactly what they said, but people were outraged immediately, like, oh no, that wasn't us. Never mind. They are. That is what they're setting us up for.
That is what they're setting us up for, and you can tell the mentality. It's like the fact that dogs and cats aren't perfectly regulated, that this is some source of joy, idiosyncratic, that we post our videos of our animals behaving in funny ways on the internet, that this is just maddening to the authoritarian mind. And, who authorized you to experience any joy at all, right? And, B, we technically... we are going to take the right to take that from you on the basis that there is some theoretical argument for a health interaction, right? These are monsters. They are not emotionally healthy people. They are drunk with their goddamn authoritarian power. And this is the warning. First they came for the ostriches. And the point is, if you don't want this to go any further, that lesson has to do more than just back them off of talking about it in public. They decided to kill these ostriches after they knew goddamn well that there was no health benefit to be had. If they didn't know that to begin with, all of the arguments that many of us made about natural immunity were completely compelling.
And that, of course, is what Katie's been saying for the last 11 months, what I've been saying since she first appeared on this program in April, what people who actually understand what went on are saying. And there is a rising tide of people who know this subject matter very well. Real subject matter experts, not people the CBC puts on their show and claims they're experts, and they're not. Got to show you this because a lot of you have been following the Blue Bin saga at the Super Save group location in Surrey, British Columbia. And of course, you won't believe this one. Now, I found it hard to believe, but the RCMP actually showed up. yesterday.
He asked a question. Quick, I gotta get going. You guys allowed to escort us in to look at the bins? No, man. Okay. Come on, you know the answer to that. Well, come on, man. You need search warrant for that. Question.
Quarterback? Poetry. L-E-R-C-E-B? Hey man, I can't hear you. You're mumbling it. Great. I don't know that. That's the document. Okay, that's fine. We're all tired here. Okay, let me run some checks here, then go ahead.
Why are they checking? What's the issue? Monty.
Hospital for tour.
Pick up.
Yeah, sure. 64766. 6.
Mom, everyone has your phone now.
The lawyer told me get the names and not numbers, not going to go be about the guy. That's fine. That's why we asked for your name. You know who we are. So, that's the written. That's all. That works for you, man.
Here's a cool rock, Mom. Can we have it?
Let's not bring any more rocks in my cart. Just got cleaned.
Okay. Mom, in the back I have dessert. In the back I have dessert for me.
Dessert?
I don't know what it is. But I know it's candy. But my dessert. Early
I'm trying to
dessert.
listen.
Yeah.
Why are you filming that?
Because they're asking his info and I want to know why. Just.
They kept the thought out of me. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me I'm talking. Wow. Yeah, it's hard to hear you, and especially we are also listening other calls that are coming in. So something is hard to hear what you are saying. You really speak up in all the wind and everything else.
It's a storm drain.
Can I sit down there?
You will, yeah.
Okay.
It's hard.
Are you part of the group?
Legal affair. All right. We're good. Hang on. Yeah, you guys are good, man. Like, you guys can continue on your processing and stuff like that. You guys don't need to hang out and talk about us. 553 then. You guys good?
Alright, I'm Nathan. I'm the legal observer here.
You're the what?
Legal observer.
Connect to me, man. No, I don't. You'll do an air fist pump.
Air pump.
Yeah, you guys are good, man. Like, you guys, we're hanging out here just doing our own thing. You guys can go protest if you want.
Okay.
For the cause, right? It has nothing to do with us. We're just here doing our paperwork and stuff. 5394. 5394. Yeah. I gotta start that again. Okay, we're gonna be making our way out. Enjoy your protesting. Enjoy your day. The weather's gonna be nice. Enjoy your remembrance day.
I'll make sure it's
We'll see you guys on your way, okay? Okay, Monty, good luck to you. That is it.
Hey, can we ask a question?
Quick, I gotta get going.
You guys allowed to escort us in to look at the bins?
No, man.
Okay.
Come on, you know the answer to that.
Well,
Come on, man. You need search warrant for that.
Questions are questions.
Yeah.
They can be answered and they can be...
What was your name again?
Tommy.
Tommy, you're killing me, Tommy.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, you know
Yes, too.
How about those things first?
I wish I had a day off, man. I have no day off. I'm always working.
Not like the second
I wish I had-
Why were they getting your
I
information?
wish I had time to sit here and do all this stuff. I don't.
What kind of car do you drive?
What do you mean? What does that got to do with anything?
Oh, you can just say no.
I know.
Okay, so that was not from yesterday. But I think it finally surfaced on the internet yesterday. And so these cops, of course, are playing good cop, bad cop, right? Give us all your information, but hey, enjoy your day. Have a good protest, man. We're just here having a good time. You know, that's the duplicity of the RCMP, as usual, on full display for everybody to see. Now, I want to show this brief clip again from yesterday's interview with Katie, where she talks about, I was red-pilled. She said, you've got the armor back on. How did you do it, Katie? How did you get through this? And your whole, I think you need to do this new venture for your own health and wellness, because you need something to move on to after this horrible experience. But what kept you going during the most difficult times?
God, our faith in God, that God has a plan, and we didn't know what that plan looked like. I've grown up to be one of the biggest animal advocates, and I believe very deeply in protecting the voiceless. And so that's always been in my nature. And those animals out there gave me so much momentum every day. I knew what they stood for. I knew the beacons of hope that they were for people around the world. And I know the opportunity that we have here to do something really good for Canada. So for those reasons, it wasn't easy by any means. It's been really hard. But every day it just feels good, because we're standing on the right side of history, doing something good for our children and our grandchildren and our country that deserves a win. We deserve a win. And our animals deserved a win. We didn't get that, but we do know that with their legacy, we're not going to stop. And we got our armor back on for our ostriches, and we're going to keep pushing forward until justice is served. And that justice will help protect other Canadians, farmers, our families, our future. That just gives me so much excitement inside, honestly, to be part of something that could have a long-lasting effect for all Canadians and our families. I feel honored to be in this position that I never thought that we would be in. I had no idea it would grow to this. I had no idea that they would be murdered the way that they would be murdered. Yeah. I didn't really even understand the UN and WEF and everything until for the last 11 months. I've been red-pilled. For 11 months, I've actually learned what our country, how it operates, who affects our decisions, the unelected, governing officials, the UN and the WHO and the World Animal Health Organization. It's been a huge eye-opener, but I just know that I want to keep fighting to stand on the right side of history, and that means making Canada somewhere that we can be proud to live in again.
And that, of course, means the Association A Voice for Farmers, which is coming into being as we speak. And this fight is not over, because, as I've said repeatedly, this fight was never about just Katie and her farm and her family. As important as that was, this fight has always been about Canadian farmers who have not been well served by their governments, and not even sometimes by the support groups that are out there. This is why we need a real agricultural group that's actually going to help farmers where they need it most. From the attack from the federal government through the CFIA, through the RCMP, through the various mechanisms the federal government has to oppress and stampede and steamroll farmers in this country. And that's what Katie aims to change. Can she do it? Maybe with your help. And this is why we're encouraging you. And we'll have in the description, we'll have information how you can donate or buy those stickers or do whatever you need to do to keep this fight alive, because it's Canada's fight. It's Canada's fight. The Carney government has this country on the ropes with its surveillance and censorship legislation. It could end stations like this. It could end your ability to say what you want, what you please on social media. That's part of this fight. It's very much a part of this fight. We're facing the loss of freedom of speech, the loss of property rights, the loss of our fundamental democratic freedoms in this country. And it's time to rise up and say, enough. We're not going to take this anymore. This is why we're going to fight with Katie. We're going to fight with anybody who wants to stop the tyranny in its tracks. Very necessary. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for sharing this station with your friends and family. Thank you for hitting that like button, because I tell you, we are fighting back in a way I've never had to before, because I'm going to keep this station on the air. I'm going to keep fighting for freedom. I'm going to keep fighting for justice and truth. And I am damn determined to resist this Carney government in any way possible as it encroaches upon our individual freedom. And it will continue to do that, mark my words. I'll be back again tomorrow. Same time, same place. 10 a.m. This has been David Krayden, broadcasting live from our nation's capital in Ottawa. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.